Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I know there's a bit of a slight delay, and apologies for that, for getting a bit delayed from our side. And thank you for patiently waiting in the waiting room and joining us today. Um, I'm Kushani here, and today's webinar is about dancing in the rain, where we will discover how to find happiness amidst adversity. And before we begin, let me quickly tell you who we are. So, SmartQuest, we are a people and organization development consultancy firm. And for the last 17 years, we've been dedicating ourselves to empowering individuals and organizations to reach their full potential. And now, without taking any more time, let me introduce our incredible speaker for the day today. So she's a banker by profession, and she currently serves as the head of private banking proposition for Hatton National Bank. And she's also a master practitioner of NLP and a professionally certified coach through the ICF. So everyone, please welcome Michelle De Silva. Over to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Kushani. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can see and hear me clearly. Kushani?
Yes, can be heard loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much. So it's been raining cats and dogs the last couple of weeks. And yes, a lot of bad things have happened as well. A lot of property damaged, trees uprooted, people injured and sick. But the rains should have been a welcome change from the April heat wave that we were all going through, right? Yet many of us are probably just waiting for the rains to cease. And every time the sun shines for a moment, we're hopeful that everything has stopped and we're having sunny days again. Because we want to get on with our travel. We want to get on with our outdoor activities, or just bathe the dog, or dry the clothes, or just maybe the dull and the gloomy atmosphere is just not everyone's cup of tea. So how many of you would actually remove your shoes and run into the rain to jump and prance and spin around like these two children that you see on the screen here, with rain gushing down your face, not a care in the world? Or would you think twice before you do that? Now look at those smiles on the screen. That's just a picture of immense joy of freedom. So before we get into today's conversation about what dancing in the rain is, I would like to share this short film with you, which actually gives you an essence of what today's topic is about. So let me play it for you. And Kushani, please let me know if you can hear it clearly. All good, Kushani?
Yes, all good.
The heavens had suddenly opened outside. It was the kind of rain that is so much in a hurry to hit the earth it has no time to flow down the spout. We all stood there in the shelter of the building. We waited. Some patiently. Others irritated because nature interfered with their hurried day. Then a little voice broke the hypnotic trance we were all caught in.
Mum, let's run through the rain. Let's run through the rain.
What?
Let's run through the rain.
No, honey, we'll wait until it slows down a bit.
Mum, let's run through the rain.
Now stop it. People are starting to stare.
But, Mum.
We'll get soaked if we do.
No, we won't, Mum. That's not what you said this morning.
This morning? When did I say we could run through the rain and not get wet?
Don't you remember? When you were talking to Daddy about his cancer, you said, if we can get through this, we can get through anything.
We all stood silently. No one came or left in the next few minutes. Mum paused and thought for a moment about what she would say. Now, some would laugh it off and scold her for being silly. Some might even ignore what was said. But this was a moment of affirmation in a young child's life. A time when innocent trust can be nurtured so that it will bloom into faith.
Let's run through the rain. And if we get wet, well, maybe you just needed washing. Let's go.
We all stood staring and smiling as they ran off, getting soaked. They were followed by a few who screamed and laughed like children all the way to their cars. And yes, I did. I ran and got wet. I needed washing.
So that little movie, I think, encapsulates the entire message of today's conversation. See, in life, unexpected balls can strike at any time, correct? And we don't know when or where or why these things happen. It could be an illness, it could be a financial, challenge, it could be a relationship issue, it could be a stumbling block in your career, it could be anything. And sometimes when it rains, it pours. Everything happens one on top of the other. And when this happens, it can trigger one or more limiting beliefs. So what do you do when bad things happen? When a limiting belief is in play, it fires all sorts of negative mind chatter that fill up your head with a lot of bad things, a lot of negative feelings, right? Questions like, why does this always happen to me? Or why am I never worthy enough of something good or something that I need to be rewarded for? I always get things wrong. I'm a failure. Why do I even learn? So these are some of the negative thoughts that could come up in every time we face a challenge, every time there is a problem, every time we're facing something dark and gloomy. You see, the lower part of our brain is wired in such a way that it is programmed to warn us of any external danger or anything that has hurt us before, and reminds us that we could be hurt again. And when our brains sense this, it releases a spike of cortisol. And this is the stress hormone. Cortisol is like nature's emergency system. And that spurt arouses our survival and protection reactions to avoid the threat. And this is how people back in the day, when they used to go out hunting, would survive, because this was the instinct that would get switched on the moment there was danger or there was something around them that they needed or they felt was a threat. And this cortisol is a really, really bad hormone because it creates a very bad feeling. And that sparks all these limiting beliefs that can hijack our brains. So when these limiting beliefs are in our heads, and when that is all we can think of, or that is all we can see, who is in your way? what is in your way. I don't know about you, but when bad things happen, I just want them to go away, right? We all do. And often we see people spending their lives just reacting to life circumstances out of fear or habit, whatever it is. It's almost like they're conditioned to going along this one set path. But every once in a while, we come across a person just like you. It puts it in their way. And when something rains on your parade, it takes courage, it takes character, and it takes conviction to deal with those situations. This is just a diagram to show you how cortisol really starts, affecting you and affecting how your thoughts are also patterned and programmed. It starts at the lower end of your brain. Cortisol is issued or is released from the lower part of your brain. And a practical way of dealing with this is to recognize this fear, to recognize the limiting beliefs, and then to find a distraction, something that will interrupt those limiting beliefs. And one way of doing that is to look for facts that give you a feel-good factor. It may be a hug, it may be a good belly laugh, or it may be just, looking at some positive action, some positive move that will release the happy chemicals. And that's the good side of it. The upper part of our brain also releases happy chemicals like dopamine and serotonin and endorphin. And if we can manage to drown out the cortisol with the happy chemicals, then we can always stay positive and keep a positive mind. So who is in your way? It's you. It's you that's in your way. And it's up to you to, or up to each of us to be able to manage the negative thoughts and the mind chatter and the mind freak that happens every time there is a challenge or a threat in front of us. So do we need to take ourselves seriously? No. The small stuff that happens that upset us or put us off are things that we need to deal with. And we get to choose every day, and we get to decide every moment how we're going to react to it. So just a few things that is food for thought and that might be interesting to break down. One is to be able to take occasional risk. So like the mother in the video, to be able to challenge our embarrassment. Sometimes we don't want to do things, or we don't want to attempt things because we feel we're going to be embarrassed, or we are not going to stand up to the profile or the image or the personality that we have already created. So nobody's going to care if you get red-faced once in a while. So just to be able to go ahead and do that. To set yourself a goal, to take a few chances, to be able to take time to review maybe your bucket list, to be able to share your ideas and your suggestions with people without any fear of it. To drop the pretense. Again, we all like to think that we are the big cheese, but we also need to learn to eat humble pie sometimes for a change, and to start accepting the ideas of other people, to know that other people will also have an opinion and be able to respect that. It's okay to make a mistake. See, our fixed mindset will always tell us that we cannot fail. It's just impossible for us to fail. But to learn from failure is always going to lead to success. And remembering that and reinforcing that in our minds is always going to help us through. it's okay to lose once in a while because things are not always going to work out. But we learn from disappointment. So whenever we stop ourselves, whenever you stop yourself from being harsh or critical, and you're able to deviate or to crush all those limiting beliefs that come into your head, we need to celebrate. We need to slap ourselves on the back and say, you know, well done, and be able to feel good about ourselves and others. To have a positive mindset. Can you see the funny side of your oversights and your flaws? It's not easy to do, but what if we can train our brains to actually do that? Be generous. So be kind, and above all, forgive. I think gratitude is one of the most powerful tools that can rein in a peace of mind. And nothing is permanent. We all know this. And smile. If you want to smile back, you need to smile. So I think some of these things, or maybe one or two of these things at least, would always help us to manage that mind freak, to manage the mind chatter and the negative thoughts and the limiting beliefs that happen automatically. So what we need to understand is that it's going to happen whether we like it or not, because that's how we are programmed, that's how we are wired. And naturally, that's how it is supposed to happen. It's how strong we are in managing that enables us to see the brighter side of things. So I'd like to share with you something very personal, just to tell you that this is not just content that I'm sharing with you and I don't believe in, something that I have personally experienced. So this is my brother Michael. He's 2 years younger than I, and as siblings, as you know, as children, we were very, very close to each other. Shared a lot of things. He was my playmate because the other siblings came much later. And 2 years ago, in 2021, he was 48 when he wants to hear the words, "You have cancer." So it was a neuroendocrine cancer. And the endocrine system is a system that manages your hormones, your nervous system. So it's all through your body, right? And it originates from one of the organs in that whole system, and it can spread everywhere. So at that time, Michael had migrated to Australia. He had been there for maybe about 10 years. So he was in a strange land. He had 2 daughters. At that time, their ages were 11 and 15. He had a mortgage on the house. He had bills to pay. His wife was not working. She was a housewife. So this news was like life-changing for him. And for us as a family, we had just lost our dad just a few months before that. My youngest sibling, my sister, had just migrated overseas. So it was a lot of change for the family. It was a lot to deal with at that time. And because it was the endocrine system, and because it was such a sensitive part of his body, so many organs attached to it, they said it was impossible to do chemotherapy or radiation therapy. And therefore, they had to do this procedure called debulking surgery, where they actually cut and remove as much of the tumor as possible. And they did this massive surgery, which lasted so many 10, 12 hours. And it was quite an ordeal for him, for the family, for his wife and his girls who were all alone in a strange land. So what do you do when bad things happen? right? In real life, when it suddenly hits you from nowhere. So how Michael has dealt with this has really been an eye-opener for me. How he has changed his entire perspective and how he's looking at life today is such an inspiration that I thought it was really apt to share the story with you, because I was with him when Kushani called and asked if I could do this session today. So what Michael decided to do was he recovered from his surgery. He still has to undergo treatment and all of that. So he's going through that process. But 2 years on, he has decided to summit the 5 tallest peaks in Victoria to raise funds for Cancer Council in Victoria. And his goal is to collect 10,000 Aussie dollars and to complete 100 kilometers. And this is to make sure that nobody has to go through cancer alone. And I think 5 out of 7 people can actually survive after 5 years of detecting cancer. So as of now, he has raised $6,000 and has completed 52 kilometers. And he has completed 3 of his climbs. This particular picture that you see here is his second climb at the summit of Victoria's second highest mountain, Mount Feathertop. And just a week ago, I joined him on his 3rd hike. So it was something I really wanted to do, something that I felt I'd like to share in his experience and also be there for him and support him in his cause. So last week, I flew to Australia to do this. Probably crazy. Not that I had the money to do it, not that I had the time or the luxury to do it. I had my own set of problems at home. My son had just gone through an ACL knee surgery. He was in bed, needed to be helped around. My mother-in-law was in a really, really bad state, and I thought I might even have to cancel my trip. She was that bad. But I was able to leave all of that here in the safe hands of my husband and go and join him on this hike. And this was Mount Rosia. Mount Rosia is a 6-hour hike. It's 8.5 kilometers up and down, 3,310 feet up. It's a beautiful terrain. It's like moss-covered rocks and boulders. And as we journeyed up, it was raining. It was raining, it was cold, and it was windy. I just couldn't feel my fingers and my toes. But because we were moving, we kept warm. I think the climb, usually this particular hike, along the way, there's beautiful scenery. And right at the top, you look down and you see this incredible drop to the bottom. But on this particular day, because it was raining so badly and because it was so cold, it was just a thick fog right around. It's just white clouds. We couldn't see anything. But we got to the top. We got to the top and we got down back in one piece, even though it was very slippery and very cold, very wet. But it was an experience that was very, very special for me and for my brother. And although it may not have, done too much in terms of raising funds for him, I don't know how much this last trip really added to his total, but it was just the ability to share a moment, to share that experience with him. And I don't think I would have missed it for the world. So my message today to all of you is that when we learn not to allow circumstances deter us, to reach our full potential, to go out there and be the best that we can be, to do the things that we dream to do, to follow our passions. That's when we learn to dance in the rain. See, life isn't about sheltering from the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain. And this quote is so inspirational to me. And it's something that I came across. And I think, I don't know, Kushani called me at about the same time, and it seemed just appropriate that I talk about this because I was so into the entire experience. And I hope that this little conversation that we had today, even though it was just a very short time that I've spent with you, helps you to look at things a little differently, because you don't want to wait for bad things to go away. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. Instead, to have a positive attitude, to take challenges head on, and to enjoy the journey. So that is my to you. I'm on time. If you would like to open questions, I don't think there is.
Yes, thank you so much, Michelle. I think it took me back to when did I actually step out into the rain and really, feel the rain on my skin. So thank you for taking us back to that good memories, fond memories, and also like reminding us, oh, are we really doing enough to really dance in the rain and really enjoy those little moments that we really take for granted? So with that, let me open up to anyone who has any questions or thoughts that they want to share with this beautiful session that Michelle conducted. Anyone wants anything to share or even ask? Michelle, you can take this moment.
Okay, I'll ask a question, maybe to open it. So, Michelle, I know you've been in a long career with the bank, and like if you look at Dancing in the Rain and how you kind of see that in your career, would you be able to share something so that, that can shed some light on us as well?
In a very broad sense, I think there are lots of little things where I've really put myself out there to dance in the rain. But on a very broad sense, I think I've been a banker at heart. Never. Banking as a career just happened as a circumstance because my dad was a banker. And so how I've actually survived 30 years in the bank, in the corporate world, has been because despite all the boring things that you can do in a bank, there are also lots of things that you can do to connect with people, because it is a service industry at the end of the day. And I've always been in service and in business. And I think I just made it my own, found ways in where I can really use the passions that I have to make it work for the bank as well as for myself. And I think that's what we need to do. And I keep telling the young people in the bank today as well, sometimes you have to do things because it's the more right thing to do in terms of, whether it's your finances or your stability. And but if you're not passionate about the job, then you have to do something to make it passionate, where you can really put your 200% every day. And I think that's what I have done, Andy, for 30 years. I just made it my own. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you, Michelle. Anyone else have anything they want to ask or share? It's your time. You can type it in the chat as well if you cannot speak at the moment. Okay, looks like no. Yeah, even maybe a takeaway, yes, would be a good idea actually at the moment. If you have any takeaways from the session, may I ask anyone here, you can open up or you can type it in the chat. What was your takeaway from this wonderful session that Michelle conducted? So I think for me, I think I was really reminded of from how you shared, Michelle, like your personal story and your experiences. I think it really gave me that reminder, okay, I really need to be cherishing and looking at the small moments as well, not let it pass, really enjoy it. So it was like, oh, like this is such a reminder. So thank you so much for that. Anyone else have any takeaways? So I see Malit typing. Thank you very much. It was exciting. Yeah, thank you so much, Malit, for joining us and being here. Yes, Shara, I see you unmuted.
Thanks, Kushani. So, Michelle, something that really stayed with me was when you said not to leave anything for the next day because you don't know what tomorrow will be. So, I'm really admiring how you have made the decision to be with your brother in spite of all the challenges you were facing. So, I think that is a very heartwarming, courageous moment. And something that is real to hold on to, and I think an example for everyone here. So just a little while ago, I heard that one of my friends had died in a car crash. So, just before I came into the session, so this statement you made held very real because we don't know what tomorrow holds. So thank you. Thank you for this beautiful session.
Thank you, Shara. Yeah. I think it just goes to show how connected we all are and how some things come to you at the right time. So thank you so much for sharing that. And looks like there's no more takeaways or anything to be asked. So let me end the session by saying once again, thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us and sharing from your personal space and really trusting everyone here to do that and creating this special moment for all of us. I think there was a lot of takeaways from me, and like that one big thing, as I said, is to really enjoy those little moments. And I hope that something stayed with all of you. And thank you so much for joining again. So this Nurture Your Mind series is something that we do every month through Smart Quest. So be on the lookout for this every month and do join us because we are going to be sharing amazing sessions like this every month. And thank you once again for joining us and being here. Have a good rest of the evening, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kushani.